Do you remember the jingle, 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun? It's the jingle for the Big Mac from McDonald's. Well, that's not why we're here today. Today I'm going to teach you how to make my recipe for chocolate chip cookies. I used to make this recipe so many times growing up on the farm. We had baking day every Saturday, and my job was to make cookies. And typically I would make chocolate chip cookies. So I made it so much that I actually have my own jingle that goes through my head. Sugar, sugar, shortening, vanilla and eggs, baking soda, flour, chocolate chip, and nuts. So those are the ingredients we're going to use today. But before we get started, let me welcome you here. If you're new, it's great to see you. And if you're returning, welcome back. I'm Lori, and this is a Simple Living channel where I bring you all kinds of different ideas on how to make your life simple, including recipe, travel ideas, stories of inspiration, retirement ideas, all kinds of things. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, that you'll subscribe and you'll give me a thumbs up. All right, so let's get to it. So what I use, the first ingredient is Crisco all vegetable shortening. You can buy this in a round container, or you can buy it in the square boxes like this. And it actually has a little measuring scale on the side of it. So all you need to do is to measure out 1 cup of the shortening, and there's a little excess here on top, so I'm just going to get that. And I'm going to use the measuring thing here and measure out 1 cup. So it's 1 cup of shortening. You could use margarine if you wanted to, but it might make it the recipe quite rich. Okay, so we've got that. And then I'm going to use 1 cup of brown sugar. So my cup here is 1/3, so I'm going to need three of these. 2. And you can lessen the sugar if you don't want it to be quite so sweet. You could use less sugar. The next ingredient is 1/2 cup of white sugar. This is where I'm going to reduce it a bit. I'm going to use 1/4 cup and just a little bit. Okay, so that's the sugar. And then the next ingredient is a teaspoon of vanilla. I like to use vanilla concentrate and pick it up if we're down in the Caribbean. It's always great. I don't measure this out with an actual teaspoon. I just pour some in, and there you go. Now, I mix this up by hand. It takes a little bit longer, but it gives you a good workout while you're making them. So you could use a hand mixer if you wanted to, if you're in a bit more of a hurry, but I've been doing this so many times, I'm just, I don't want to bother getting out the mixer. So, and these cookies make about, 2 cookie sheets full. So makes a good quantity. All right, so I'm mixing this up. It does take a little bit of time. Just mix it up until the all of the sugar and the shortening are like a smooth paste. And get the vanilla mixed in there too. It smells really good. Okay, so you shouldn't be seeing any white dots from the shortening. You want to make sure that the shortening has got mixed in smooth. So there's the mixture there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 2 eggs. And this will make the mixing a little easier. Okay. And I'm just going to wipe my hands. Okay. So now I'm going to mix in the eggs. Use a spatula to clean off the edges and make sure you get it mixed well. And as I said, it's a bit of a workout. So you don't want to really see any of the shininess from the egg. You want it to be a nice creamy And a nice creamy mixture. And you don't really want to see any lumps. If you got lumps from your brown sugar or your shortening, just try to get most of them out if you can. Okay, so now here we are. This is the mixture here. It's nice and smooth. Now, the next thing is, the recipe actually calls for 2.5 cups of sugar. I mean, of brown, 2.5 cups of flour, but I don't use that much. I use maybe a cup and a half. Okay, so this is half a cup of a measuring cup. So I'm going to put in just 3 of these, which is a cup and a half. I like them to be a little richer, so that's why I don't put in any extra. Like I don't put the full quantity. You can. Anyways, it always seems to work out. Sometimes I will substitute half a cup of flour for about a cup of rolled oats, and that makes it nice too. All right, and now you need to have a teaspoon of baking soda. So just level that off. All right, and then we need a little bit of salt. You don't have to put salt in if you don't want to, but it's just a little shake. Get that mixed in. You don't need to mix it too much. So you can see that just a couple stirs and I've got it mixed in. And now we're going to put in about, say probably a cup of chocolate chips. Half of this package. So let me see. Yeah, that's almost a cup. And these are dark chocolate that I'm using today. But you can also use milk chocolate. There's all kinds of chocolate chips that you can get. So any kind of chocolate chips would work. And if you don't think it's enough within your mixture, you'd like a little more, you can add more. Now the last thing we're going to do is grab some walnuts. And I'm going to throw some of these in. And I'm just going to break these up a little bit. I don't want them too big. I could chop them on a chopping board, but I'm trying to make these quickly. So I'm just breaking them up. Most of them are broken. So nice big chunks of walnuts. You could use pecans, but I mean the walnuts work really well. Throw in a few more here. Now this seems like it's a little bit, the mixture seems like it's not very stiff, so I'm going to add just a tiny, tiny bit more flour. Not a lot, just a tiny. If you don't have enough flour in it, what happens is the cookie dough mixture, it'll just go all flat. So, okay, so now I've got these all ready to go in. I've got my oven preheated for 325. Again, if you have a hot oven, you might not want to have it quite so hot, but typically that's where I bake my cookies, is at 325. All right, now I'm going to put the cookies onto a cookie sheet. I'm using non-stick copper-based cookie sheets. They've been well used. They've got a little bit of brown marks around them, but that's okay. They're well used and they still work really well. Okay, so depending on how big your cookie sheet is, you could put 4 across or 3 across. This one's a little smaller, so I'm going to put 3 across the top. And I think I'm going to try to get 5 down the sides. So this pan would make 15. If I really wanted to squish it in here, I could make 4 across, but that might be too much. They'd probably start baking into each other. So you can see this doesn't take very long. Just have all your ingredients ready and mix it up and off you go. You'll have fresh hot cookies before you know it. The size of the dough balls, probably about an inch to an inch and a half across. And I don't know, it just, you can make them as big or as small as you want. Just make sure that you're consistent on your pan, that you know you don't have like a bunch of really big ones and a bunch of really small ones, because they need to all bake for the same amount of time. So you don't want some getting burnt and others not. Okay, so there is the cookies ready to go into the oven. Place your first cookie sheet on the bottom rack. Okay, let's check the cookies. They've been in the oven for about 5 minutes. And what I'm seeing here is a little bit of golden brown around the edges, so that's perfect. Put them up on the second shelf, and then you can put the other cookies on the bottom rack. And we're going to wait about another 4 to 5 minutes. You don't want them to overcook, so we'll just keep a close eye on them. Okay, the cookies have been on for a few more minutes. Let's check them out. That looks pretty good. They're pretty brown around the edges and a little bit soft in the center. You don't want to overdo them. So I'm going to take those out to cool. And then the bottom ones, let's see, they're quite brown around the bottom. So I'm going to turn this around just for even cooking and let them finish. And here's the cookies. So we're just going to let them cool, but before they do, what I like to do is to take the cookie lifter, and if the dough is touching each other, then what I do is just use the edge of the cookie lifter here and just separate them so that when I do go to lift them off, they're not going to break. And you can go around the edge too if you want, just to make it a little easier for taking the cookies off once they've cooled. You can't take them off yet. Well, you could, but they'd probably fall apart. So we'll give them a couple minutes before we take them and put them on a cooling rack. Here we have the final cookie. So you can see it's a little bit golden brown around the edges, and they're all different shapes. Now, because I didn't use the full quantity of flour, they've spread out a little bit and they're a little bit thin. That's why you really have to watch when you're baking them that they don't overbake and get too brown around the edges. Just take them out when they're lightly brown around the edge, even if they look, soft in the middle. Otherwise, they're going to be probably crunchy and maybe a little too hard. So you can experiment with them using a little bit more flour. I wouldn't suggest using less flour, but you could use a little more, or you could add in half a cup to a cup of rolled oats, and that makes it good too, and experiment with the different types of chocolate chips or different types of nuts. So I hope you enjoy them, and let's give it a try. Gonna have a couple cookies before my husband gets here. I might have to hide these on him too. You'll see all the chocolate chips in the back. These are really good. I never know how these are going to turn out. When I make chocolate chip cookies, my husband always says, okay, he goes, well, how do they turn out today? Are they soft or are they hard? You never know, but they always taste great. So I hope you enjoy the recipe. And again, I'm Lori, and this is the Simple Living channel. And thank you for joining me. If you find my stories of interest, I hope you will subscribe. And if you like this video, I hope you give me a thumbs up. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, Lori. Hey, Lori.